Constantinople, or Istanbul as it's known today, is the main city in Assassin's Creed Revelations and the final stop on our trip. With many sloped streets spread throughout the city, it's easy to see how the zipline mechanic came to be in the game. First, we stop by Galata Tower, which is a rare case where the real thing looks smaller than the game. It feels like the devs may have increased the in-game height so that it's more fun to climb. The tower makes a few appearances in the game, like when a fake Sophia is held hostage, or when Ezio explores the caverns beneath the tower in search of a Masyaf key. But perhaps the most memorable moment involving the tower comes early in the game.
Welcome to Constantinople, Ezio, the crossroads of the world.
The top of the tower offers a beautiful view of the historic area of Istanbul in the distance, across from the Golden Horn Inlet. You may remember in-game that when Ezio tries to sail out of the Golden Horn for Cappadocia, his way is blocked by the Great Chain. This chain really did exist, and we visited a nearby naval museum that had pieces of it. Ezio gets around the chain by blowing up one of the attach points. In real life, there's one case where the chain was broken by ramming into it, and two cases where fleets circumvented the chain by being brought around it over land at night, sometimes using greased logs. We later traveled across the Golden Horn into the historic area of the city. One of the most prominent locations here is the Grand Bazaar. This absolutely massive marketplace with over 3,000 shops was much smaller in Ezio's time compared to how big it has grown today. Here, Ezio would spy on the Janissary captain, recover a stolen painting for Sophia,
some kind of bomb, and close!
and learn how to use bombs from the assassin Piri Reis.
We fight to end the fighting. It is a sad irony.
It will always be an irony, Evet. But perhaps one day will not be so sad. Use this wisely.
The Grand Bazaar actually probably would have looked very different in Ezio's time compared to today. It was originally made out of wood and wouldn't be rebuilt with brick and stone until the early 1700s after a particularly bad fire broke out. Next, we traveled to see Hagia Sophia. This stunning museum was formerly a church that was converted to a mosque shortly before Ezio arrived in Constantinople. When Ezio was looking for flowers for Sophia, he came to the Hagia Sophia courtyard and used his hidden blade to cut some white tulips. Ezio would later explore the interior and recover the armor of the Ottoman assassin Ishak Pasha. I remember being blown away the first time I stepped inside Hagia Sophia in Revelations, and the real-life thing was just as amazing, even with some restoration work marring the view. This has always been one of my favorite landmarks to explore in the games, and it remains one of the highlights of the entire trip for me. Nearby is the Basilica Cistern, which is the location of the first Masyaf key. What's interesting is that the low water levels and walking platforms that you see here today are the result of a recent renovation done in the 1980s. Prior to that, you had to tour the cistern by boat, and in Ezio's time it's actually quite unlikely that the water levels would be as low as they are depicted in the game. Like the Grand Bazaar, the in-game location seems to resemble the modern day more than it does the past. It's much more likely that Ezio would have had to swim his way through to find the Masyaf key. Next, we headed to the Hippodrome, or what was left of it. In ancient times, the Hippodrome was used for chariot races, though by Ezio's time it had fallen into disuse and ruin. Ezio and one of his recruits would tail the Thespian to here, and Ezio would also meet with Yusuf here to discuss preventing an attack on Prince Suleiman.
A pleasant surprise, Ezio.
We should trade stories if I'm not dead by this time tomorrow.
Suleiman, of course, spent much of his time in Topkapi Palace, the heavily guarded residence of sultans that Ezio and the Ottoman assassins would infiltrate dressed as minstrels. The entire palace complex is absolutely huge and made up of many different buildings and courtyards. But one area here is notable in the AC universe for reasons completely unrelated to Ezio. So this harem here at Topkapi Palace is where Jennifer Scott, who is Haytham's half-sister that you see at the end of AC4, was initially brought after being sold to Turkish slavers by Reginald Birch. So she was a concubine here for a while until she eventually moved to Damascus, where Haytham eventually rescued her. The palace also contains the imperial treasury. Among its items are the throne and sword of one Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. In Revelations, of course, Suleiman is only a 17-year-old prince, but wise beyond his years. One thing that really stuck out to me while in Istanbul was just how prominent and important a figure Suleiman would become in the decades after Revelations. He left his mark on the world in many ways, and while it's hinted at in Revelations, I feel like I didn't really get a sense for the scope of it until I visited Istanbul.
Evet, Şehzadem. You have your father's wisdom.
And his impatience.
As this episode comes to a close, I'll leave you with a look at some of the bootleg Assassin's Creed items we saw on the trip. I might do future videos in this series if I visit other AC locations in the coming years, but for now, this is the end. Thanks to everyone who works on the AC Wiki and the All Sounds Assassin's Creed Tumblr. Without those resources, I couldn't have made these videos. And a special thank you most of all to my wonderful girlfriend Candace, who helped with some of the camera work, and is also just an awesome companion in general to have taken this trip with. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for lots of post-release videos about Unity and Rogue soon. See you!